Hello, it's Delia. Thanks for clicking on. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about anger. There's a lot of anger about a good many things. And I've had quite a few questions this week about how to not be angry and how to be more Zen or be more spiritual. And this is such a great question because there is this idea that to be spiritual, you would never be angry. But if you kind of follow that out, you would never need anything, right? If you're really spiritual, and nothing would ever bother you. And you'd always turn the other cheek. And however you were trained, of that anger is bad and needs to be avoided at all costs. And other things are so much better than anger. So, and there is a lot of angry behavior in the world that warrants being reserved about it. We're constantly seeing various forms of murder and different threatening behavior. And the consensus is that that's what anger looks like. It's always out of control. It always goes too far. It's a negative emotion. It's a bad thing, and you need to avoid it at all costs. But the thing about that and the way we're taught about all emotions is inaccurate. It's skewed. So there's an idea. Before I was aware of emotions and what they're for, I had a lot of ideas that emotions were an annoyance. They're unrelated to anything real. They're not useful, and they take away from the important things, which tended to be business, right? Anything personal is a distraction from business or from your job or from your education. And most things that are personal are not as valuable as business or your education, which is a business for somebody else. So when you have standard of measurement that is anchored to making money, generating income, especially when you're working for somebody else. So it's somebody else is making money more than you're making the money. You can see how this sets up a very skewed picture for the purpose and the meaning of anything or everything, really. So one of the people that I really adore in this world is somebody who works for the federal government, not in a direct DC kind of a way, but in a government office elsewhere. And the things that are happening in the government right now affect everybody. And the federal government is the largest employer in the US. So what's happening with their practices affects a lot of people. And I have known a number of people that have worked for the government. I've worked for the government over the past 40 years. And the one most consistent trait about people who work for the government, this is also local government, is that they really care and they really want to improve things. It's incredible. I mean, they've grown up with some sense of civic awareness and civic duty, meaning community mindedness. And then they spent all that money to go to school to learn whatever their major was, and then moved to wherever they needed to move to apply that very expensive education at the job of being of service. So there are, there are bad apples, there's bad actors right now, but it is an important awareness that most people who are in the government mean it. They mean something good for everybody. Yes, not everybody, and yes, some people have a weird idea about what that means, but the large majority. So this friend of mine was really upset by something. Every day there's something, right? And they took it personal. It hit them hard. They were very, very angry, and just didn't know what to do. Right. So this is and plus they were making themselves bad and wrong for being angry, because it's not spiritual. So this is a real impediment to having a spiritual practice, is people thinking that if they have any kind of emotional reaction at all, then it's not working or they're not working. And that's not what a spiritual practice is about. First of all, emotions are great. They're a really vital, really important navigational tool. They're sensing your environment, and they're giving you information about what's going on in your environment. Anger, in particular, is an incredibly useful guidance tool. Anger is telling you when a boundary has been breached or broken, or when a boundary needs to be set. And for mental health purposes, for self-care purposes, this is incredibly important information to have. So being upset about being upset is kind of culturally trained, right? And when you understand that you're furious, you're having a lot of rage, you're angry because things are not right. This is not how the government's supposed to work. This is not how we're supposed to treat each other. This is not how business is supposed to work. This is not how fill in the blank. There's just a lot of that going on. And this is not normal times. And that's a really important thing to remember. This is not some previous administration where the person in office had different ideas about how to improve things. There's a big difference between a different idea about how to change things versus deadly intent. And there's a lot of that in just a lot of ways. So you have to be able to tell yourself the truth about whatever it is for you. You have to be a safe place to tell yourself the truth to. And if you judge anger as a bad thing, then you're going to have a really hard time just being angry. And when you are not resisting the emotion will tell you all sorts of really good information about what's going on and how you're responding to it. You're responding to it because there is existential threat going on. Democracy is in existential threat right now. And you have to be able to see what is, and that's seeing what is. And to be angry about it, about the way so many people are being treated is a healthy response. It's a healthy human response to say, no, this is intolerable. No, this is wrong. No, this shouldn't be happening. Laws being broken shouldn't be happening. This is true. So when you understand that your anger is telling you something vitally important and probably really true, then you welcome the information. Now, you may not act on it. You may not act on it immediately. You may not act on it at all. You may not act on it in an overt way. You may want to act on it in a completely different way. My friend, for instance, found it really useful to start making 5 calls a day. This is a big campaign that a lot of people are doing, as well as going to the gym. So you're both of those things, pardon me, are helping your body move the energy. You're taking action steps in the real world in a real world kind of a way, which brings down your anxiety because you're taking action. And going to the gym helps just move energy through, which is really helpful. It's also really good for you. Both of those things are actually very good for you and for the community. So if we're not judging anger as too bad to feel or too unspiritual to admit to, if we're not judging it by the rule book of conventional wisdom, then you can stop resisting it. So resistance is such, it's in the, in Star Wars, resistance were the good guys. But as a way of living in the world, it's very expensive for the body. It's hot and bothered all the time, and there's the lies like powerlessness that go into anxiety and future tripping, not being in the present. So it's very costly. And when you instead can see what's going on and you can see, okay, that makes me mad. That's infuriating. I'm livid about that. Then that's great. And you're not judging yourself because you're seeing something wrong in the world. That's appropriate. And then to be mad at that's appropriate. So these are healthy responses. The quicksand of good and bad and right and wrong, especially about emotions, is pretty thick. And if you have to check every time you have a feeling, and in this culture, we don't spend any time with our feelings or how do you feel? Either that or we either anorexic about how do I feel or, too much. And just riding the waves of emotions, which mostly aren't even, yours. Those of you who kind of grew up as a sponge because that's what it was going to take to be safe, to know what's the emotional state of everybody around you. Being a sponge doesn't help anything, which you've probably experienced. And there are different ways to operate. You can perceive what's going on around you, and you can perceive the states of emotions of other people, but you don't have to take them in and on anymore. And to misunderstand emotions it's really detrimental because then you're debilitated. You have this incredibly aware, very sophisticated system of information that is designed specifically to keep you centered, help you be centered, and have all of your systems operating properly and everything flowing properly. But if you're poisoned against your own system, then it's really hard to be centered. It's really hard to close your eyes and turn within, it's really hard to bring all of yourself back to right here, right now. So understand that emotions are gifts. They're navigational tools, and it's this ingenious way that we're built to help you perceive what's going on around you. And anger is a really enlivening energy. You get a lot of vitality with anger. You get the vitality that's needed to, like, lift the car off the child, or run a marathon, or you get a lot of adrenaline, and a lot of clarity comes with anger too. So if you're not resisting your emotions, you're going to be able to kind of hear what they're trying to tell you, and then with more more of a sense of camaraderie among all of the parts of you. The part that sees the anger, the part that gets angry because of what they see, as well as the part that's scared by what they see. Doing parts work and doing shadow work, doing energy work, all of these things work together because you are an incredible system of information gathering and kind of divine knowingness. Once you kind of clear out all the other, turn off all the TVs, turn off all the radio stations, and clear out the programming. So if you find yourself angry, and there's a lot to be angry about right now, see what happens when you just are curious and want to hear, okay, what boundary has been broken? What boundary needs to be set? And what can I do about this situation? Because if you're, all of this is in this particular talk is specifically around the current affairs in the US right now. So it's external, and it's also not only the US. There's plenty to be upset about in other countries right now. So when you find yourself being angry, and instead of judging yourself for it or making yourself wrong for it, be curious. Well, first of all, assume you don't know everything. It's very challenging in the days of the, just Google it. We all have this unconscious assumption that we're supposed to know everything all the time. And there's a lot of things that you don't know about right yet, because there's a lot of things that are just now coming into existence. So see what it is that you're angry about. Be curious, be interested in, what am I so angry about? Why do I feel threatened by this, right? And then when you are curious, you can hear what your system is showing you. What is it that's going on that your system knows needs to be stopped? And then you can find out, you can be curious, you can Google it. What can I do right now about this thing? And then you can find a way to start to do something every day to make that thing better. It doesn't have to be all consuming. It doesn't even have to be every day. But for you to feel good about yourself, you are going to feel better about yourself if you're taking some kind of action. Now, it doesn't have to be highly public, and it doesn't have to be the way you've seen other people take action. If you were to start journaling every day, or 3 times a week, whatever, if you were to start journaling to be curious about what's going on with you about all these things that are happening in the world, this would be incredibly productive. Energy doesn't die, it just changes form. And all of us, everything that you can think of is, down to a molecule or a cell, and everything has vibration and even consciousness. So the more you are getting to know you, the more you're becoming more conscious about yourself and more conscious about how the world affects you and how you want to participate in the world. This is good for everybody. It's it's much more vitally important than is acknowledged, really. But it is how you are, how much trust you can have with you, how much you listen to you, how much you care about your own emotional, financial, physical states, um, the better. Because it's not about it's not about healing yourself so that you're just this little pocket of healed and everybody else is, not. I keep going back to the Reiki thing about not Reiki. Um, well, you'll recognize it when I tell you. Rumi, that was an R word. You're not a drop in the ocean. You're the ocean in a drop, right? So if you're the ocean in a drop, then how you attend to your drop, how you attend to how muddied up it is with other people's energies or things that you were taught when you were, 5. The more you're aware of all of that, and the more you do the work that you're called to do to help yourself heal out of those things, to get your drop of water clearer and cleaner. As you clear your drop of water, you're clearing the ocean. It's organic, and it's kind of instantaneously. It's a transmission. It's transmitting in ways that you're not aware of yet, but it is highly effective. And you could picture it like if the world was in the dark and you lit a candle, and then come to find out there's a bunch of other lit candles, and then everybody starts to help each other light their candles, and then there's not dark anymore, right? Any of those, the 100th monkey, the more we learn personally in our interior, the more we're changing the outer world. So anger is not the problem. What you do with it and how you suppress it or oppress it or judge it, that's the pain and that's the problem. That's when, whenever you suppress and oppress anything, over time, it's just going to build up and build up and build up. And then it's just going to pop out and, you know, bite the person in the ass in some way at best and cause a lot of damage at worst. So if you are more interested in hearing what's going on for you as though you care about you, like a loving companion, and then get into the dialogue with what is going on for me right now, it's going to include more and more, it will include your higher self, your infinite self, your natural state of knowing. And then you will have the physical experience that you're not alone and that you have this infinite being that you can trust and that can be with you at all times, which opens the gateway to realizing that everything is sentient, everything is conscious, everything is part of the all that is. Not because of the thingness, but because of the cells and the atoms. And we're not all one because of the same sharing the same, pain pictures or um, stuck pictures or hope pictures. That's not where we're the same. Where we're the same is underneath that, the isness of us beneath the layer of personality and what the world tells us. That's where we're one. So I hope this illuminates things for you about anger, fury, rage, and how they're helpful, how they're showing you what needs to change, and how they're giving you the energy, the vitality to affect change and to take action. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.